Hello everyone, Caleb Masters from the Cinematropolis.com here with a special review of Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
It is very good to be back.
Come up, you're gonna be our helper.
Okay, disappear in 3, 2, 1. J. Daniel Atlas in the house. Who wants to see a magic trick?
It's been 9 years since we got Now You See Me 2, and a whopping 12 years since the original Now You See Me. And of course, this is the sort of Ocean's 11, but with magic series. The first film and the second film co-stars an incredible cast. I'm a big fan of several of them, including Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Isla Fisher, Morgan Freeman, Mark Ruffalo, among several other great little smaller parts. It has been a really long time since we've seen the magic, so to speak. And I've got to admit, I never was a huge fan of the Now You See Me franchise. You know, there is something very alluring, something very exciting about magic meets heist that unfortunately, I don't think the first two films ever quite lived up to the premise of that. Does the franchise really still have enough tricks up its sleeve to deliver sort of another romp of the Four Horsemen, at least from the box office perspective?
Now, a wise man once told me, in the mirror, in fact, never assume you're the smartest person in the room. Prove it.
Be my guest.
All right, well, let's see if we can get that case open. Abracadabra.
I cannot believe they did not call this film Now You Three Me as the third film in the franchise. You're never going to have that opportunity again, guys, that you have the third entry. We can sprinkle it into the titling. But in all seriousness, I would say it's that I was never bored. I was engaged. I laughed a few times. I was charmed somewhat in moments. But ultimately, I was left with a pretty hollow experience. I have to say, I think the film really feels like it's been made by committee, going back to that era of the early to mid 2010s, back when Marvel was just taking off and everything had to be a big franchise and everything had a director just kind of coming on as a gun for hire in order to put their spin on what is ultimately a producer-driven film. And I think the same thing is true about this film. It feels, I would say, something somewhat sanitized, very mechanical. There's crowd-pleasing moments, sure, but ultimately it all sort of feels a little bit of artifice. Like, for example, you have the returning cast members, all of them, which I liked. Again, the Four Horsemen, including a couple of little cameos that I will not mention. Harrelson, Eisenberg, Fisher, Franco, all of them just seem like they are sort of sleepwalking through performance. Yeah, we're here, we're hanging out, and man, we're getting paid a lot of money to act like we're friends. And I'm going to tell you why we're friends. I'm going to tell you about all those good times we had. But ultimately, none of those moments really feel super earned from my perspective. So I was not very invested in any of the returning characters. I wasn't particularly moved by whatever tragedies, twists of fate their lives had taken since the last film had come out in 2016. That said, I want to turn things to the new cast because that is a very different story. I'm talking about Justice Smith as Charlie, Ariana Greenblatt as June, and Dominic Sessa as Bosco. Again, whereas that returning cast feels like it's sort of just sort of on cruise control largely, this cast has sparks. This cast has chemistry. And then, of course, there's Rosamund Pike's Veronica Vanderberg. Let's not talk about her. The less said about her and her accent, the better. Frankly, I was a little heartbroken, and she should be too.
Still safe with me.
In the opening moments of the film, you see the Four Horsemen doing sort of their grand re-debut, their first performance in 10 years, and they tell us, yes, you've missed us, yes, we blew the world up, and then we disappeared for a long time, and we know that you've been clamoring to see more of our magic. The Four Horsemen, we're back in action, and we are going to blow your minds. There's a lot of self-importance here, a lot of sort of mythologizing that has happened, at least on producers here, suggesting that, yes, even though those first two films were very successful at the box office, I don't know about you, I haven't seen anyone dressing up as the Four Horsemen at Halloween lately. And so when the film is telling me, wow, we're a big deal, it just feels very hollow. And ultimately, this is sort of a reminiscent of a different era of studio filmmaking when everything was IP, everything was franchise, and the studios kept serving it up to us no matter how mediocre it was, and people kept showing up and paying the big bucks. This feels like it was made from that era. Hey guys, here's a mediocre product. enjoy. We know you're going to love it. And at the end of the day, I think all of us, including the cast members, who I'm sure got good paydays, deserve a better script. They deserve better written characters. And ultimately, if you're going to do heist with magic, it sure needs to be a lot more fun, and there needs to be a lot more showing me the magic than telling me the magic. So if I were going to give this a letter grade, I would say generously a C-. You catch me on a bad day, I would say it's a D+ even. Here's the thing. You're going to go into this movie. You're probably going to have an inoffensive time. You're going to probably laugh a little bit, like I said. You're going to then pick apart the film immediately afterwards in your brain, realizing that none of the plot mechanics or character relationships hold up under much scrutiny. It's going to be a little annoying, and then you're going to forget about it by the time you wake up the next morning. So ultimately, this is passable entertainment. This has been a review of Now You See Me, Now You Don't. The film is opening in theaters this Friday. If you enjoyed this review, you can head on over to cinematropolis.com, or more importantly, if you're watching this on social media, give us a subscribe on YouTube or a follow on Instagram and a like. Feel free to comment with your thoughts. What do you think of the Now You See Me franchise? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let us know in the comments. We'll catch you again next time.